I'm going to tell you a story. This is a story of a real case happened in Cannon Falls, Minnesota, and it's about a missing girl, Jessica Swanson. I want to walk you through it so you have an understanding, and I want you to look at this and apply some of the theories we talked about. Jessica Swanson is 5 years old, and it's about 1990, 91. I really can't remember the date exactly, but she disappears. The police are notified. It starts off as a missing children. It becomes very obvious in the investigation that there's literally something wrong here. The Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, which I was part of, was brought into the investigation. And I was actually assigned to work with the mother, as a liaison, even if we believe that the mother, or the boyfriend were involved in this thing. At this time, we can't prove it. A very intense investigation, ended up in a multi-agency task force, many people involved in it, and the case was not solved. The consensus was it was an accident and they hid the body because they were scared of the police, but they don't know that. Well, it's about the case, as any case, starts with a few, ends up with a big task force, dwindles down to back to a few main people working the case. And as time goes on, the case isn't getting solved. Now, the community's really involved. They want this poor little girl found. There's a lot of anxiety, what happened, everything else. Law enforcement has a meeting. And this is an open meeting. They got like 20 people there. I was not invited, and neither was my counterpart that I worked with, the FBI. And they have a meeting, and they decided they're going to bring the suspect in, and they're going to interrogate him, and they're going to continue to interrogate him until he tells them where the body is. And they actually bring a member of the FBI, not my counterpart, in to do the interrogation because it's the FBI. They bring him in, and they interrogate him, and they videotape it. I have a copy of the videotape, which was actually provided to me by the media. And he had asked for an attorney in that interview or to leave the room over 20 times. And they told him to shut up and sit down, and they kept on him and on him. And finally, he said where the body is. They find her wrapped in a blanket in a field, and they were so close where they searched everywhere. They were so close. And they find. Now, the ethical issue is this all right? Now, you would expect no charges, because fruit of the poisonous tree, how can you possibly charge it? They did charge him not with murder, but with moving the body, and with the agreement they wouldn't go after his girlfriend, the mother of the child. He did spend some time in prison for this. My question is to you, is this all right? A big discussion. Because remember, their goal was to help the community, to bring the little girl home, closure of this case. Take a moment. I want you to look at it. Is this all right? Now I want to tell you why it's not. Now, you've been studying ethics. I want to look at deontological ethics, what Kant would say. Now remember, Kant says the only thing that matters is your act itself, not the outcome, not the consequence. You have no control over it. Do you have any control when you went and found the body, what she was like? Was she raped? Was she sexy? Was she stabbed? How did she die? You'd have no control on what would happen when you found it. The only control you have is your action. Their action was not of the police. The police have no right to do this. They're restricted in their power. These were more like vigilantes, even with good goals. So even if the goal was good, the outcome is not, even finding the body. And in fact, if this is right, would you be willing to say, if it's right, it should be right in all similar circumstances, the categorically imperative. In similar circumstances, we should practice this. Would you be okay to say in training of new police officers that if you're frustrated, it's okay to violate somebody's rights? And as we studied and looked at the social contract, our duty was to protect him if others tried to do it, not to do this action. So take a look at this scenario. I know as a parent, I know the answer, but as a police officer, it's different. You don't have a right to violate his rights, even with the right goals. Think of other circumstances could have fit in this. But this thing blew up. The county attorney didn't remember being consulted or didn't remember agreeing. It went into another agency to look at criminal charges, which they declined the criminal charges. The FBI gentleman involved is no longer in the FBI. So all the things involved in the consequences. And this is the type of scenario I'm talking about you have to look at. Now, what's interesting in this one, are these officers ethical? Now, an unethical officer would have done what? They would have lied about it. They would have said he never asked. They would not have videotaped. They would not have given the videotape to the defense attorney. What they did, they believed in their heart was right. They stood out and said, we'll pay the consequences for our behavior. And they easily could have been prosecuted and lost their jobs or worse. So, are they ethical? Doing what they believe is right? You know, so these are the things I want you to talk about, and we'll talk more on discussion. Have a good day.